All right, what's happening? Las Vegas here. I'm Darin coming at you. Today, we're going to be talking and discussing the amount of cancellations at a pretty alarming rate, particularly here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Adam, I think I sent you an article on this because you were talking to me about it, and it seems as Vegas is a little bit higher than the rest of the country. We're kind of outpacing the rest of the country. What are those percentages?
So we're at 19%. So nationwide, it's 14% of our deals are canceling, which is higher than normal, actually. We're at 19, so almost 1 out of 5. We're ranked 8th in the United States as Las Vegas Metro.
Yeah, you know what? And this is not as big of a problem, I think, as some people might think it is. But today we're going to go over some of the reasons why it's happening, and maybe towards the end of the video, maybe some prevention.
Yeah. And if this is your first time on this channel and this podcast, be sure to hit that little bell and subscribe to the channel so that way you can be the first to know what's going on in the Las Vegas market. We like to cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of what's going on in the Las Vegas area.
Okay, so let's go over, I think there are 3 primary reasons why we're seeing cancellations. So what would you say the first one is?
First one I think I'm going to get into is probably inspections and physical condition of property.
Inspection and physical conditions of properties. And one of the things I think is happening, and tell me if you see something different, is now, buyers are asking for the entire house. So you get an inspector go in there, and the inspector finds, 30 or 40 different things. The buyer is saying, oh, yeah, fix it all.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been quite a reversal. I mean, you could have an AC in 2020 in July and celebrate to that, take it or leave it. I'm walking.
I think back in those days, we were getting as is. We were writing offers. We'll take it as in after inspection.
I never did think. Do you remember when people were waiving inspections?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'm not in.
Yeah, they were waiving inspections and taking as is.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit more of it's a different situation now where buyers are empowered and it's about time, right? So the buyers are like, oh, it's broken, fix it, right? Fix all of it. And sellers are still remembering what it was like when they bought their house, right? And there's a little bit of a disagreement there.
Yeah, I think so. And I think just, with the costs going up and everything like that, I mean, look, in 2021, a house that was $300,000, you're probably looking at a $1,700 mortgage. Now the same house is probably worth $480,000, and that person buying, depending on their down payment, might be looking at a $3,200 mortgage. Yeah. So there's a certain price being associated with like, hey, if I'm going to spend $3,200 a month, this thing better be perfect.
Well, they also may not have any more money because let's face it, there's a lot more seller concessions. So now the buyers probably, a lot of them don't have the money to do all the repairs, right? And they're thinking, hey, the seller's getting all this money, so, why don't they go fix it? So that's one, the inspections. And you brought up a good point about how a lot of the repairs didn't get done.
Yeah, so there's a lot of deferred maintenance also. So I think there's also a lot of times where someone said, okay, well, I'll just fix it the way I want to. And maybe they get busy. They like, especially we're a very transient town. So people come into Las Vegas, they move, they start their life, maybe they start a job or whatever, they get going with their life, and then that, thing like that leak in this sink that they don't even use very much, or this, the air gap problem, and
yeah, this is the 2021 buyers, right?
That's just
and when anything. The sellers wouldn't fix anything for them, so the buyers didn't, they took it without it, and maybe their cousin or one of their friends or maybe even their agent told them, hey, this is not a big deal, just get it fixed later, and they never really did it. So we're seeing some extra stuff. What's the number 2 reason why?
I think it's sticker shock. When people come, they go on like Lending Tree or whatever, and by the way, those a lot of times are advertisements when they're looking at how much they think their mortgage is going to be. And when they do that, and you can speak to this, they give like an 850 credit score, like, yeah, I'm not kissing, and you can elaborate, but
the buyers are, I mean, oftentimes these programs have like a 20% baked into it too, 20% down payment. A lot of people aren't with 20%. So
PMI effect.
yeah, they don't have the PMI, they don't have the home insurance in there, they don't have the HOAs, and so there's a lot of things those things are missing. So they might look and go, oh yeah, 3,100, 3,150, I can afford that. And then they get out there in the real world and they see 3,100 is now 4,200.
Also, when we look at too the expectations, say like their friend bought a similar house in this neighborhood and their mortgage is 2,500. Like, you know what? It's more, but I can probably pay 3,100 or whatever. And then they find out, oh, it's an FHA payment, or if it's a little less down.
Okay.
It's that the rates are higher. Now they find out, oh, my payment's actually $3,700 once I do it. Now it starts getting a little bit harder to justify that.
That's correct. Okay, so reason number 3, and this is our favorite right here. This is the one that
Probably gonna be the longest part of the video, just so you.
Yeah, so this is the interesting one. Reason number 3. Let's hear it.
Well, but not fear of missing out. It's fear of I didn't get the best deal or the best house for the money.
And yes, this is something like I think most agents will see that they're seeing. Like, yeah, you get done with the showing, buyers love it. They're like, yeah, we want to write an offer. You stand in front of the home in the driveway and you talk for 40 minutes, right? Strategizing how you're going to do this and
Name which kid's going to be in which room.
and I'm showing them the comps, which kids are going to be in which rooms. Yeah, we've gone through all of that.
I don't have kids yet.
Yeah, and then I get in the car, start driving home, and I'm just getting ready to maybe get home, open up the laptop, and fire off this offer. And then what do we get?
5 more listings from Redfin, Zillow.
Yes, every site but the site that we pay our money for. So yeah, okay, yeah, they got a great interface. So basically, it's a screenshot of 3 or 4 other houses. Hey, do you think we can look at these 2? And that's fine, but it's leading to canceling because we try to catch it before we write an offer, but sometimes what happens is you write the offer gets accepted during the due diligence period. What happens?
Well, I mean, other properties come up available. And look, we haven't dealt with this. I mean, like anybody that literally heard about their friend buying 3-4 years ago, they just were trying to get into contract on a property with all the competition. So now it's like, oh, we got all this analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Which I'm not against. Like, I would much rather be proactive and have us look at a couple extra homes to make sure that you're sound and making the right decision. I mean, we're not buying a hamburger here. We're buying a house.
We're buying a house. We're buying a house. But at some point in time, I think, you write an offer and you just kind of follow through at some point, right? Because something new is going to pop up on the market the day after, during that 10-day period, what we call due diligence that's what the average amount is. There's no set amount. That's just what most agents write in there in due diligence. You might.
I think, I mean, personally too, I think motivation is less now because the cost is greater. So what I find, the weaker the motivation, the more somebody's going to try and write a lower offer.
Yeah.
And maybe justify through financials if they really truly want to go through with it. And the same thing with selling too, by the way. I think if somebody wants to severely overprice their house, particularly in this market, I also think there's a question of motivation is typically what I always see is, do they really want to sell? Do they really
are they? Yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's like, do they really want to sell, or it's are they really aware of what they're up against? The competition. So
as an agent, then I always question, have I asked enough questions? You know what I mean? Like, have I gotten to the bottom of why, and have I steered them to help them hit their goals? And I'm sure they're the same exact way.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go over a little bit about prevention. So we have those 3 reasons. What are some of the things we can do to prevent an inspection from derailing our house?
So we're talking about from the seller's perspective. From the seller's house, you're moving across country, and now all of a sudden you're thinking this person's buying their home, and then they got 5 other they're looking at, and you don't even know this, and then you're gonna get a bomb dropped on you in a week.
Well, let's look at the inspection. Let's look at the inspection situation first.
All right. But all these are incorporating. Some of these kind of go on top of each other. So is what I'm saying. I don't mean to be all. So what I think is, if you have the means as a seller, now if all your money is tied up in equity now, you just don't have a lot of income, you can't do this. But if you do have the ability to get maybe a pre-inspection, now this will not supersede the buyer's right to do their own inspection, but it'll at least give you an idea of what's wrong and what could be prepared, so you can be proactive when you put the house on the market.
Personally, I have a handyman come through once I take the listing, and the handyman will go through the house, and he's got a little bit of an inspection background. Handyman I use is very handy. And he's going to go through and he's going to like kind of fix some of the little things, some of the small things that might derail the house that you can get in front of and fix up front. As Adam said, cost might be a factor. If the cost is a factor, talk to your agent, see if your agent's willing to kind of help you with that in some way and maybe recoup or whatever at the, after closing.
Or sometimes the agent have relationships where maybe a person like a handyman or whatever will get paid out of escrow.
Absolutely. There's options. There's options. Here's another thing that I kind of explain to sellers, like, hey, listen, the buyer's going to ask for a lot of things. So we're going to work more off your net sheet because we know the buyer's going to ask for lots of things. So if you just make sure you have a realistic amount set aside mentally and emotionally to repair the house. Make sure you kind of know what you're getting into. So I think the agent, setting expectations.
Well, and I also think it's not a terrible idea. Maybe if you're thinking about selling your house and you are able, it's not a last minute thing. Maybe you're a couple months at a time. It's not the worst idea to take out a home warranty if you don't have one. For some of those smaller repairs too, where you pay just a service fee. That's also a way where it's maybe an $85 or $100 service charge. You pay $400 or $500 for the warranty. Again, this is if you have one.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Now, on the buy side, here's a few things that you can do. And if you're selling your house, you might want to have the agent that's bringing the buyer should actually have that conversation that they're buying a used house, right? They're not buying a brand new car. It's like if you're buying a brand new car, you want it to be brand new. But if you're buying a used car, there's going to be scratches, rips in the steering.
There's going to be some miles on it.
Yeah, it's going to be some miles on it. So I think it's just setting that expectation too with the buyer.
100%. I think that's huge as far as okay, we don't want the door handle loose. We would like a track on that closet. Those are all good things, and those are tidy things we can do. But do I want to utilize a repair? Do I want to overwhelm? And I'm not saying I've sent those repairs and I've gotten them fixed. So if my client wants me to send them, I send them. I just let them know concerns of I would rather focus on the AC or the roof or the electrical or a plumbing issue or something that's structural or something like that. Obviously, or all of the above, really, if there's multiple in those main arenas.
Issues that are detrimental to the point for your
Two that I've seen. I had two this last summer. Actually, the same month, had water main leaks. So one of the things that I'm starting to urge my sellers to do or my buyers to do is a water main inspection right now, which is not super common in Las Vegas, but that can avoid a very, very costly repair. It's on the low end, you're $7,000, but if you're in an older house and you're looking at like cast iron plumbing, that could be a $20,000-$30,000 repair down the road. So things like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the last issue that is going to be the hardest to tackle. This is the one that it's really hard for us to overcome. It's really hard as a seller and as a buyer, is that FOMO. So what can you do to avoid that?
Well, I don't want to skip over financing. I do want to go over the financing piece really quick too.
Okay.
So as far as the financing piece, one thing I can't stress it enough: talk to a lender. I know people get reluctant. I would say talk to a lender.
But you're supposed to, essentially. I guess that's why I was kind of skipping it, because I feel as though you need a pre-qual to write an offer, and your pre-qual should come from a lender, and preferably a local lender.
Quantum broke down the difference of a pre-qual, a pre-approval, and a desk underwritten. So there's a vast difference. So pre-qual is you put some information in a computer, you stated what you made, there was no diligence done, they spit out a letter saying, okay, go shopping here, you're approved for $500,000. A pre-approval is when it's gone through an automated underwriting system. Maybe you've sent them some pay stubs or given them a little bit more concrete information. They may have even pulled your credit. Now you have a pre-approval.
But wait a second. Now that pre-approval, are they going to give you the numbers? Because that's the part that scares the people, right? Are they going to give you the numbers like what's your payments? Are they going to give you like some?
Sometimes they will. Sometimes it depends on the bank. It depends on the lender.
Make sure you get it.
And get it.
Yeah, get it.
And by the way, by all means, please get it. Don't be afraid of those numbers, for goodness sake. I'd rather you get them up front and abort mission before you go spend time and start emotionally investing in a property, than get the hard numbers and realize, yikes, let's hit the eject button.
Yeah, or let's tone it down.
Because that really not only, like, I know a lot of people think, oh, that's just because you don't want to waste your time. No, it's not even that. It's honestly your psyche. Like, we don't want, because I've seen people, they think they're approved. They don't ask enough good questions. The lender doesn't prepare them properly and maybe check some things. And then they find out they're not qualified, and here they got all excited. It's heartbreaking on our end.
Payment, down payment, closing costs. So you should address those three things. What's your monthly payment? What your down payment's going to be, and how much are the closing costs. So those are the three things that I've seen once people cause them to get sideways. Yeah, you got to get it. You got to get that information before.
And if we're like a couple $100 off on the payment or something like that, there's ways we can brainstorm. If we're $1,000 off on the payment, then we probably got to abort mission and figure something else out. It's not the right move forward.
Yep.
And then lastly, sorry, FOMO. We're going to talk about this. I just wanted to touch on the piece because I believe that piece gets overlooked.
Yeah, that piece does get overlooked, and I overlooked it for us. So, So FOMO. So, and this is the hardest part to really get over and get people to understand that, we're going to focus on this house, right? Because here's the thing, you get an offer accepted. Congratulations. Let's move forward. How would you approach it, Adam? Let me give you an example. If you have a buyer that went out and likes the house and decided when to put an offer in, and 2 days before due diligence, he sent you a house and says, "Hey, let's look at this one just in case."
Absolutely. Let's go look at it right now.
Okay, so this is the first time you say absolutely.
Let's go look at it.
Okay, so let's say he cancels that and writes an offer on that new house, and 5 days into it, you get another photo. Hey, you know what? I know, we're in contract again, but I'm kind of curious about this house.
Yeah, so I mean, in both scenarios, while I'm showing the house, probably at that appointment, I'm gonna ask some questions. Why is this house sticking out a little more? What's causing you to maybe feel like you're not making a good decision? And then what's specific about this house made you really want to go and see this house? Oftentimes, I'm going to tell you, it's usually more clarification that they're making the right decision that I've been experiencing.
Yeah.
So they'll want to see that house. And that's not always the case. Sometimes I just want to make sure that this house isn't better, that it just came up on there. And Jesus, you got a crazy rate. Holy. That's typically what I'm seeing when we go looking under their house, and I would rather do that because I want to make sure that
you always want to make sure you get your buyers happy and they're satisfied with the house. But I think you hit the nail on the head with just asking the questions. What is it about this new house that drew you in? Because you got drawn in two separate times. What is it about the house that you are under contract right now that you feel as though is inadequate, right? And then go from there.
Right. Yeah. And when we look at this house, are we looking for a reason to cancel? Are we looking for confirmation, or are we actually seeking for information too? That's something through the questioning I'll probably ask, is just so I know how to help you get what you want. Yeah. Because if we've gotten a contract and you feel that you've made the wrong decision, the last thing I want to do is have you keep going after that, especially when you're out to the contract, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys might have some questions about some things that you heard here.
And again, if it's your first time on the channel, and your first time on this podcast, and you want to know what's going on in the Las Vegas area, now we don't just cover real estate. We are real estate agents, but this isn't all we do. We like to cover what is happening in Las Vegas, which there's a lot going on. Be sure to hit that little bell so you can get notifications and subscribe to our channel, so that way you can know what's going on in the Las Vegas market.
Absolutely.